All right, good evening. So, good evening and welcome back to JPCE, Watchdog News. So, this evening, strategic shifts and escalations, Ukraine's battlefronts, US and Turkish responses, and more European concerns. And the Ukrainian conflict shapes global responses and strategies. In a week of pivotal developments, the New York Times highlighted Ukraine's stalled advances in the Kursk region and the looming threat to Pokrovsk, underscoring the intensified Russian push in eastern Ukraine. Meanwhile, Ukraine's bid for deeper U.S. military involvement faces Russian warnings of escalating conflict. As Germany scales back its aid to Ukraine, EU officials express growing concern, while Turkey's new airbase across the Greek islands signals a strategic countermeasure to regional tensions. This complex tableau of military and diplomatic maneuvers reveals the dynamic and involving nature of the ongoing conflicts around the world. This evening's episode is brought to us by our Father in Heaven. So as I share the screen over, we're going to talk about the New York Times. It was mentioned in the opening introduction. So thank you all again for following. We're going to push through this. Hopefully I don't have any internet problems. Hopefully we can watch a few videos this evening. If not, I'll just push through with the report. So on your screen, we're going to talk about the New York Times. So the New York Times, Kiev's invasion of Kursk slows as Russians advance in eastern Ukraine. So the New York Times. So recently, the New York Times reported highlighting the ongoing developments in the Russian-Ukraine conflict, improvising Ukrainian forces challenges on multiple fronts. The key points: Ukrainian advance is slowing. Despite early success in the Kursk region of Russia, Ukrainian forces have experienced a significant slowdown in their offensive, particularly in the last week. Initial rapid gains have given way to more marginal movements, likely due to the reinforcement of Russian defenses, which I did say in one of my videos would take a while, right? Russia's a big country. They had like 270,000 to 300,000 that were not part of the special military operation in Ukraine. They just had to give them some time to move them, right? So they didn't have to mess with the Eastern Front. All right, so Russian advances in eastern Ukraine. In contrast, Russian forces are making steady progress in eastern Ukraine, particularly towards the strategic city of Pokrovsk in the Donetsk region. The capture of nearby villages and their proximity to Pokrovsk puts the city at serious risk, threatening Ukrainian defensive lines. So right here is a good map, right, of what's taking place. These maps do not translate, so I'm going to continue with the report. So although the potential fall of Pokrovsk is not expected to be catastrophic, it could severely impact Ukrainian defenses in the Donetsk region. However, the city's losses would complicate Ukraine's overall defensive strategy. Evacuation efforts. Ukrainian authorities are urging residents of Pokrovsk to evacuate, although the process has been extremely slow. The looming threat of Russian advances adds urgency to these efforts. Pressure on Torsk in New York. Russian forces are also making gains toward Torsk in New York, to places in Ukraine, slowly pushing forward and putting additional pressure on Ukrainian defenses in those regions. Material and strategic losses. Ukraine faces increasing material losses, including military equipment, which complicates its efforts to maintain offensive and defensive operations across the different fronts. Broader strategic implications. The developments underscore the broader challenges Ukraine is facing, balancing its offensive operations in Russian territory with the need to defend against Russian advances also in the east. The conflict remains fluid, with each front playing a critical role in the overall outcome. All right, so moving right along. All right, so next, we're going to talk about Kiev seeking permission. All right. So Kiev seeks permission for strategic strikes deep in Russian hinterland, gives U.S. a list of Russian targets, and requests the JASSMER for F-16s. The U.S. is playing with fire, says Moscow. All right. So Ukraine requests U.S. approval for deeper strikes in Russia. So Ukrainian officials plan to present a detailed list of potential military targets in Russia to U.S. national security officials. Listen attentively. If you're going to ask me if World War III is fixing to come, listen to this report. So they aim to persuade Washington to lift restrictions on using U.S. weapons for strikes within Russian territory. Woo. Focus on strategic targets. Ukraine believes that conducting these deep strikes within Russian territory would enhance its military efforts by targeting vital Russian assets, despite some being relocated further from the border. I mean, it's smart, right? Request for advanced missiles. Ukraine is seeking permission to acquire and use AGM-158 Alphas, JASSM, and AGM-158 Bravos, and JASSMER missiles, which could be equipped on F-16s to allow long-range strikes into Russia. This is something that Russia was worried about months ago. Looks like it may come true. These would complement the ATA CMS missiles already supplied by the U.S. Potential shift in U.S. policy. There is speculation, so listen attentively. There is speculation that the Biden administration may reconsider its restrictions on Ukraine's use of U.S. supplied weapons for strikes inside Russia, potentially allowing more aggressive Ukrainian operations. Okay? So it's speculation, right? Russian warnings. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov warned that allowing Ukraine to strike deep into Russia with Western missiles is akin to playing with fire and could escalate the conflict significantly. He cautioned that World War III would not be confined to Europe and reiterated Russia's nuclear doctrine. Okay? Russia is not afraid to use nukes on its own territory. Okay? So think about the Kursk region. If anything changes there. Right? Strategic implications. Equipping Ukraine with advanced missiles for deep strikes could significantly impact Ukraine's offensive capabilities, potentially altering the dynamics of the conflict with Russia. All right, let's move on. All right. All right. So Alexander Shurisky, Ukrainian army controls 100 settlements and 1,294 square kilometers of the Kursk region. He has captured about 600 Russian soldiers. All right, so let's listen to this report. All right, so Ukrainian control in Kursk. Following an offensive 3 weeks ago, Ukraine now controls 100 settlements and 1,294 square kilometers of territory in Russian border region, Kursk. Captured Russian soldiers. Ukrainian forces have captured 594 Russian soldiers in the Kursk region since the offensive started. Russian troop movements. Russia has redeployed approximately 30,000 military personnel from Ukrainian territories to the Kursk region to counter the Ukrainian offensive, and this number is increasing. The Russian military is attempting to create a defensive ring around the Ukrainian offensive forces and planning a counteroffensive actions. Challenges in Pokrovsk. On the front near the strategically important town of Pokrovsk, Ukraine faces significant challenges as Russian forces, leveraging their superiority in personnel, weapons, and equipment, actively using artillery and aviation to disrupt Ukrainian supply lines. All right, let's keep moving on. We're going to be talking about some of those missiles right here. All right. So the JASSMER for Kiev, along with the F-16s, Ukraine may also get long-range missiles from the U.S. for strategic strikes inside Russia. So F-16 arrivals in Ukraine. The first F-16 fighter jet arrived in Ukraine and has been operational for the country's defense since the end of July this year. Potential JASSM missile supply. The U.S. may consider supplying Ukraine with long-range AGM-158 JASSM missiles, significantly enhancing the capabilities of the F-16s already in Ukraine. Strike capabilities. These missiles would enable Ukraine to carry out long and strategic strikes inside Russia, including in Crimea, from a safe distance beyond the reach of Russian air defense systems. Increase operational effectiveness. Equipping the F-16s with these missiles would increase the effectiveness of Ukrainian military operations by allowing the destruction of critical, well-protected targets without exposing the aircraft to significant risk. Protection and modernization needs. Given Russia's superiority in the aircraft and air defense systems, Ukraine requires advanced protection and armament systems to maximize the safety of its pilots and enhance the combat effectiveness of the F-16s. Existing missile use. Ukraine has already demonstrated the effectiveness of cruise missiles like the British Storm Shadow in targeting and destroying Russian military assets, indicating the potential impact of adding these missiles to their arsenals. Interesting. All right. As we continue to move on the report, now we're going to be talking about Zelensky. All right, so Zelensky, first downing of Russian missiles by F-16s. What he said about the new Ukrainian ballistics and the Kursk. Kursk is part of Ukraine's victory plan. All right. So the F-16s are having what success, right? Ukrainian President Zelensky confirmed that Western-supplied F-16 fighter jets were used for the first time to shoot down Russian missiles during a recent massive Russian attack on Ukrainian cities. New Ukrainian ballistic missiles. Zelensky announced the successful test of Ukraine's first domestically manufactured ballistic missiles. He did not provide specific details, but emphasized efforts to boost Ukraine's domestic defense production capabilities. So the missile that they're talking about, I'm going to call it the Papa, right? So that's what I'm going to call it, the Papa missile drone. So Zelensky mentioned that that Ukraine recently deployed a new class of a weapon, the Papa missile drone, for the first time. Kursk's operation is part of Victory Plan. Zelensky also stated that the operation in Russia's Kursk region is a critical element of Ukraine's Victory Plan and is linked to the upcoming peace summit. He noted that the operation had achieved some goals, including stopping Russian advances in Kharkiv and towards Sumy and Chernihiv regions. Impact of Kursk's operation. According to Zelensky, the Kursk operation successfully halted the occupation of Kharkiv and defeated many Russian troops. Future peace plan. Zelensky plans to present a comprehensive plan to end the war with Russia, including further actions in the Kursk region. To U.S. presidential candidates Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, and President Joe Biden. He stressed that the war would ultimately end through dialogue with Kiev, aiming to strengthen its position ahead of a peace summit later this year. Let's continue to move on to our next report. We're going to be talking about a dirty bomb next. So being Tara in Ukraine. Here's the next report. So Tara, Ukraine reportedly importing spent nuclear fuel for dirty bomb, what the Russians claim. All right, so here we go. So what the Russians claim. Allegations of nuclear material imports. Russia is claiming that Ukraine is importing spent nuclear fuel and chemical industry waste, potentially creating a dirty bomb or conducting fake chemical provocations. This is huge. Now, I was talking about this last summer, right, before things got crazy, right? There's always been speculation of a dirty bomb, whether the Russians or the Ukrainians. So listen attentively, right? So delivers via Poland and Romania. These substances are reportedly being transported to Ukraine through Poland and Romania under the supervision of Ukraine's presidential chief of staff, Andrei Yermak. Concerns over chemical weapons. Okay. Ukraine is also allegedly acquiring large quantities of toxic substances prohibited by the Chemical Weapons Convention, and including approximately 500 tons of, hold on, let's zoom in on it. Right there. Right there. And that is used as a raw material, right, for the production, right there, of nitrogen substances. Interesting. So Russia is questioning whether Ukraine is reporting these imports to the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, OPCW, and urges the international body to investigate the use of toxic substances by Ukrainian forces. Threat of dirty bomb. In mid-August, reports suggested that Ukraine might be planning an attack on the Kursk nuclear power plant using a dirty bomb, which the Russian Defense Ministry is reportedly taking this very seriously. Call for international investigation. Moscow is calling on all international organizations to investigate these claims impartially and consider the evidence presented by Russia. Interesting. All right, let's move on. All right, let's talk about Poland. All right, here we go. So Poland, are we one step before the real war with the Russians, pointing to World War III? The EDs are on alert in the country. So a state of hybrid war. Okay? So Poland's deputy defense minister stated that Poland is effectively in a state of a hybrid war amid escalating tensions with Russia and Belarus. He also highlighted the situation on the border with Belarus, where incidents involving weather balloons and unidentified flying objects have raised many security concerns. Border tensions with Belarus. So border tensions with Belarus. Poland has accused Belarus of using illegal immigrants as a means of pressure, a claim Minsk denies, while accusing Poland of mistreating migrants. Polish-Ukrainian Defense Cooperation. Poland has reportedly agreed with Ukraine to shoot down Russian missiles and aircraft over Ukrainian airspace, a move likely to escalate tensions with Russia. It was also suggested that Poland is very close to entering an actual war, emphasizing the severity of the current security situation. Yep, so it's going to get pretty bad. Let's get to our next report. Hopefully get a small video in here. So almost all types of missiles were fired at Ukraine by the Russians. Non-existent Ukrainian air defense videos. What missiles were used? So on August 26th, so yesterday, the Russian armed forces launched a large-scale missile attack on various targets across Ukraine, leading to widespread power and water outages, particularly in Kiev. Ukrainian air defense is criticized. Analysts describe Ukrainian air defenses as non-existent in the face of this attack, suggesting that this is the beginning of Russia's response to recent Ukrainian incursions into the Russian territory. Kamikaze drones. Used in multiple regions, these drones can carry highly explosive warheads and utilize, and also have satellite navigation. That's what I meant to say. Tu-22Ms and Tu-95MS bombers launched KH-101 and KH-555 missiles, with the KH-101 capable of carrying a 400-kilogram warhead over a range of 2,800 kilometers. MiG-31 and Kinzhal missiles. Hypersonic Kinzhal missiles, known for their ability to bypass air defense systems and strike critical targets, were deployed. Iskander-M's and Bastion missiles. These land-based systems were also used, with Iskander-M launching ballistic missiles and Bastion firing hypersonic missiles. Caliber missiles launched with submarines and other ships. These missiles are part of Russia's Navy arsenal, though their technical specifications remain confidential. Widespread impact. Explosions were reported across numerous Ukrainian regions. Ukrainian President Zelensky described this as one of the most significant attacks since the start of the Russian military operation in Ukraine. All right, so we'll move on. This next one is interesting. The word Lithuanian PM used about Russia shows what's to come. So, the Lithuania PM speech in Kiev. She delivered a speech in Kiev during the National Day of Ukraine ceremony, along with the Polish president. Vow for Ukraine's victory. She expressed her hope for Ukraine's victory in the war against Russia, framing it as a victory of good over evil, and improvising a future celebration with electricity and natural gas without Russia. Controversial language. She used the term "rascist" to describe Russians, a derogatory term used by some Ukrainians to combine Russia and fascists. This term has been criticized as a racist insult, it's also likened to derogatory language historically used by oppressors. Implications of the statement. Her use of this term underscores the deepening animosity between Lithuania and Russia, and strongly supports Ukraine in the ongoing conflict. We have a video right here.
Далі робитимемо усе, аби наблизити перемогу. Перемогу світла над темрявою. Перемогу добра над злом. Перемогу вільних людей, яку святкуватимемо разом. Зі світлом, з газом і без русні. Слава Україні!
All right, let's move on with the report. Sorry if I've had some hiccups tonight. Being back in school, doing a lot of reading again. Eyes are getting tired. So for the hiccups, I do apologize. All right, so here we go. So in the U.S., so Sergio Lavrov, right? So Sergio Lavrov in USA, do you think that in a GPP, will the oceans protect you? The video, you're playing with fire. We talked about that already earlier, right? So he has a warning to the U.S. So the Russian foreign minister improvised that in a global conflict, neither the Atlantic nor the Pacific Oceans would protect the United States from the consequences. Nuclear doctrine classification. He also mentioned that Russia's nuclear weapon doctrine is being clarified and stressed that U.S. officials are fully aware of this doctrine. Criticism of U.S. perception. He also criticized the belief held by some in the U.S. that they would be safe from global conflicts due to their geographic separation by oceans. Accusations of Western escalation. He also accused the West, particularly the U.S., of playing with fire by supporting Ukraine's request to use British Storm Shadow missiles against Moscow and St. Petersburg, suggesting this was a form of blackmail. Interesting. Concerns over escalation. He also argued that the West's actions indicate a lack of genuine interest in avoiding further escalation of the conflict.
Americans have this direct association, these conversations, this talk of a world war. They think that if this happens, it would only concern Europe, which is a very showing thing that reflects the mentality of those geopolitical strategists in the US, because they are confident that they will just be safe across the ocean. And in this situation, one has to understand that we have our own doctrine, a doctrine of using nuclear weapons, among other things, and we are now making adjustments to this doctrine, and the Americans are well aware of this doctrine. And you know, these are Freudian sleep. The World War III is a bad thing because we do not want...
All right. So we're going to continue to move on with the report. It's going pretty smooth tonight, other than for my own hiccups, because I'm just not tired. But this is running smooth. All right, so we're almost done. Let's check this out. All right, so EU. The reduction of Germany's military aid to Ukraine is very worrying. Ukraine is moving rapidly towards the EU. So Ursula von der Leyen, Ukraine is rushing towards the EU. Concerns over German aid reduction. So Joseph Borrell's concerned. EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell expressed significant concern over Germany's decision to cut its military aid to Ukraine by about half for the following year. He described the reduction as very worrying. Bad news. Historical support. Borrell highlighted that Germany has significantly contributed to Ukraine's defense efforts against Russia, and that this reduction contrasts sharply with its previous support levels, which have been substantial compared to other European nations. German government's decision. Budget cuts. The German government, led by Chancellor Olaf Scholz, is looking to reduce budget spending and has cut its military aid to Ukraine. Despite this, Scholz has reassured that Germany will remain a primary supporter for Ukraine in Europe. The EU's perspective on Ukraine's EU integration. So Ursula von der Leyen's statement, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen affirmed that Ukraine is progressively rapidly towards EU membership. She emphasized that the EU remains firmly committed to supporting Ukraine and sees its freedom and security as integral to European values. Solidarity with Ukraine. Von der Leyen reiterated Europe's ongoing support and solidarity with Ukraine, celebrating its independence and future integration into the EU. Things are going to go down. Right, as we keep moving through the report. All right, this should be the last one. So Turkey, new airbase for F-16 fighters is being created opposite Rhodes and Kursk. They will have, the Geopolitical Islands as their main area of responsibility. I don't know if I said that right. I do apologize. Oh man, tired. So a new airbase location establishment. Turkey is creating a new Air Force base, and then in the Dalaman area of Mugla province, strategically positioned across from the Greek islands of Rhodes and Kos. Command and responsibilities. No map. Commands and responsibilities. The base will be the headquarters for the 16th Main Aircraft Command Base, led by a brigadier general. Yusul Karhuk. It will oversee operations involving F-16 fighter jets and uncrewed aerial vehicles, UAVs, drones. Response to regional tensions. The establishment of this base is reported as Turkey's response to what it perceives as an increased provocation by Greek and American forces in the Aegean Sea and Eastern Mediterranean. Remember, Turkey is what? A member of NATO, right? So NATO's having problems. Deterrent role. Turkish F-16s opposite the Greek islands are intended to deter and enhance Turkey's ability to conduct aerial operations and missions in the region. Operational scope, areas of responsibility. The Deokines Islands will be the primary responsibility for the new Turkish airbase, which aims to improve Turkey's strategic and operational capabilities. Like I keep saying, Turkey is acting weird. We're in weird times. So World War III is definitely around the corner. So we're going to go ahead and close out. That's tonight's report. Apologize for some of the hiccups tonight. Like I said, getting back to school and all the reading, my eyes are getting tired. I'm getting tired. All right. But I wanted to get this report out for all of you. Thank you all again for following, right? Remember to click on the link to the full report so you can follow along with that, because I did make some hiccups in here. Without further ado, thank you all so much. Here's your blessing. May the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be merciful to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. In the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, now and forever, for the ages. Amen. The Lord is our shepherd. All right, we depart in peace in the name of the Lord, my brothers and sisters in Christ. Peace be with you all. Go in peace. Shalom, shalom. May the Lord forgive those who love us and those who hate us. Love you all so much. Great report. Sorry that I made some hiccups. Enjoy it. Have a great evening.